What's up, folks? Will here from tyGraph. In this week's video, I got a great question on the tyGraph customer network that I want to talk about. And the customer was asking, hey, Will, how do I tell when users are most active in Yammer? And it made me realize, hey, I haven't really talked about the time feature that we added in the December 2019 update. So I'm just going to use this opportunity to explain, A, how you can see when that peak is, but also to check out what the timetable looks like in the latest tyGraph reports. So let's dive into these reports by taking a look at what simple things we can do to existing report layouts that we have to be able to tell when users are active in Yammer or any other tool for that matter. I'm going to expand on that in just a second. So the way that we do this is go to the May score page, and when I select this, we can see our May score by month year short by default. Now you'll notice, I've talked about this in one of the video, which I'll link at the top as well, that you can check out, is we've got this ability to drill up and down through a hierarchy. And so far I haven't figured out a way to show you what all the levels of the hierarchy are. However, if you know about it, you can move up and down within this hierarchy and explore a little bit. So by default, we decided to make it month year short, as I said, but if we press this double down arrow, it's going to let us go down to the next level in the hierarchy. And that's all we need to do to be able to see when the peak is for our network. Now, the next question that you should be asking is, what is this time at the bottom? There's no reference to a time zone, and the time zone is UTC. So we're not making any adjustments based on your location. We're keeping it universal. That way people in global organizations can have one version of the truth, no matter where you're pulling this report from. Now, the downside is you'll have to do a little bit of math in your head if you want to translate that to your local time zone. However, that's the way that we're going to do it just for now. So I'm going to click back up, and this will allow us to be able to view this back at the default setting. To take this a step further, if I go to the recent activity page, we can do the exact same thing. And I want to take a minute to say that all of the tyGraph reports that came out since the December 2019 update, we tried to make the date axis dynamic so that you don't have to make changes to be able to answer this question. So it doesn't matter if you're in tyGraph for Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, or like we're seeing in Yammer, if you see something where there's a time axis at the bottom, it should be dynamic and you should see these arrows appear at the top of that visual. So using the same example, I can take a look at the next level down in the hierarchy, and again, we can see the distribution of now messages that are being posted in the organization based on the time of day that the message was posted. Now, Yammer is an odd one out that I want to mention, in that when we assign likes to a time of day, we're associating those likes to the time that the message was posted. So say that you posted a message at 5 p.m. and then I go and like it at 7 p.m. The like is going to be counted at 5 p.m. when the message was posted, not at the time that I liked it. And Yammer is the only tool that is unique in that for now. However, if we go back to tyGraph for Teams, we can pivot based on the time attribute for likes or reactions, and it's dynamic based on the time that the person actually made the reaction, not the time of the message. So Yammer is unique in that. So showing the same example here, we have a matching hierarchy in the tyGraph for Teams report, which are very similar. And if we go down to that level of the hierarchy, we can again see the distribution of messages that are being posted across the 24-hour clock. Now for my final example, I want to dive into the timetable itself. For those of you who are analysts and have the capability within the Power BI service to actually edit these reports and get down to the nitty-gritty of the data model that's provided by any of the tyGraph tools that you have. So I'm going to show that now. One example is if I go to now more options and edit the report, I'm going to take our template page, which we include at the bottom, and I'm going to show you some examples of how you can utilize the timetable. So the first thing you need to know is that when we're in editing mode and you go to the field section on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a time UTC table. I can expand this and scroll down, and you can see that we've provided a number of different time attributes that you can choose from. Essentially, these are just different permutations that you could have for an axis in a visual. This way is that if you're being asked for a specific convention in the aggregation of the visual, you can provide that, hopefully, based on the items that we've provided here. So let's do an example. I mentioned before we could plot messages and likes. So I will search for messages, and I'll drag and drop that out here. And I'm also going to get reactions. I keep saying likes because I'm used to Yammer, but for Teams, it's reactions. Next, I get to choose the aggregation that I'm going to have at the bottom because we go down to a great level of detail in tyGraph for Teams. If we want to format this as we saw on the other page, I'm going to click hour, 12, hour. And now you can see we can note the trend in messages and likes based on the hour. If your company prefers a 24-hour axis, we can switch out the 12-hour axis by unticking this box and then tick hour, and then Power BI should be smart enough, it'll put hour 24 instead in there, and you'll see that it's plotted by a 24-hour. You'll notice that it's sorted incorrectly here. So if I go to the ellipsis, I can, there we go, sort by hour 24, and it's done it backwards. So now I'm going to change it to ascending, and now we can see it by the 24-hour clock instead. Finally, I want to talk about some more detailed examples. You can bring this right down to something like the actual minute. So we're going to include hour and minute. So what this allows me to do is if I bring this to the top of the axis, you'll see we've got these detailed timestamps that go across time. I don't think there's too many customers who are doing this right now. Perhaps if you were running a campaign and you had a very specific request around a single message and you wanted to see how that message received likes over time in a very short period, that might be an example of why you would use hour, minute, 24-hour. If I come across more situations in the future, I'll post a video about that. But for now, I'm just going to stop there. The last thing I want to talk about is how you can create your own hierarchies. So I'm going to pull this hour 24 to the top. And what this allows us to do is, because I've nested hour 24 underneath, let me change this. I'm going to use the 24-hour hierarchy. I nearly tricked myself there. So we've got hour, hour, minute, and full time. And that's already done by us. So don't bother creating your own. Use the bundling that we've provided here. Once again, I'm going to need to sort this, ascending rather. All right, so now we could navigate up and down this hierarchy as I showed you before, but the last thing I want to show you is how to drill down. So this is a very useful feature. I like it a lot, and this allows you, when you're in an analysis session, to see what's going on. So see that there's a big spike in messages at 3 p.m. UTC. If I press this drill down icon, I can now select this data point, and it's now going to zoom me in to that exact hour that I had selected just before this and give me a full breakdown right down to the minute. And the benefit of this is we can see that it's not very distributed. It seems to be concentrated around a couple of minutes right at the start of the hour. And the way that we interpret this is not that it would be a single event where someone's posting multiple messages at the same time, perhaps, but rather that there's a pattern of messages being posted at that particular time. And we can tell that because the report period is spread across a number of days. So don't forget, we're looking at this across several days, but it's very concentrated towards the beginning of the hour. And so that's key when we're analyzing the spike in popularity. It would seem that there's some sort of pattern within this team, channel, or the organization where users are posting at that particular time. So that's a real quick overview on how to figure out when users are most active, particularly in Teams or Yammer. Also, you can use the date hierarchy, don't forget, or if you're an analyst who has access inside the Power BI service, go ahead, edit that report, and start messing around with all of the great attributes that we've included within the time table. If you have questions about what you saw today, as always, you can reach out to me in the tyGraph Customer Network private group that you have for your company, or in the support email. I'll include that down in the description below. Hopefully you found today's video helpful, so give us a thumbs up. Thanks so much.